Set us on fire.
All right, so this is the last bit before
This is
dinner,
it.
I guess.
Yes.
So, welcome to Japan. Where people wear masks for some strange reasons. I don't know. And some guys wear wigs as well for some. I'm just joking. Anyway, so I'm a brain scientist or neuroscientist, and probably we'll go anyway. So I'm based in Tokyo. I am a senior researcher at the Sony Computer Science Laboratories, which is a fundamental research lab founded by Sony. And actually, my longtime colleague, Dr. Hiroaki Kitano, he is now the CTO of Sony Corporation. So that's the kind of background we have. So we are very close to the heart of Sony, and so my colleagues are doing research on computer science, obviously, and gaming and agriculture nowadays. So anyway, and also I'm academic. Anyway, so I also teach at the University of Tokyo, which is considered to be one of the best in Japan. Yeah. Okay. That happens when battery is low. Anyway, so I'm half industry, half university, and half drunk. Yeah, I'm a media guy. I appear regularly on Japanese TV and radio, so I get recognized all the time. So that's the problem. But anyway, this is my. Maybe you know about Ikigai, but this is my second book, The Way of Nagumi. This just came. I think this will come out in the United States soon. How many of you are actually from the States? Okay, welcome to your colony. I'm just joking. You've just been to the MacArthur, place, right? So yeah. Anyway,
Welcome to you.
what we are missile base. I'm just joking. So this is my second book, The Way of Nagami. But before that, I wrote a book called on Ikigai, and it's something to do with the brain, obviously. And so I presume you went to see the cleaning process of the Shinkansen train. And this is very important. When I went to Los Angeles a few years ago, before COVID-19, obviously, there were people who were waitressing and cleaning, and they told me that these were really beautiful, handsome people. And the American who went with me told me that they were doing this city job before they were, hopefully engaged in Hollywood movies, so they were constantly on an audition and so on. And so I think in the States and also elsewhere in the world, there's this attitude of people that there are some people at the bottom, there are some jobs at the bottom, and you kind of gradually climb up that ladder of the social status and so on. So cleaning the Shinkansen train would probably not recognized as something that is your dream job, right? But we have a bit of that here because of globalization and so on. But traditionally, the Japanese people have always found Ikigai in seemingly mundane jobs like cleaning and sweeping and so on. Actually, if you go to a Zen Buddhist temple, the training process of Buddhist monks is actually very focused on cleaning the temple and so on. So cleaning the temple is actually considered to be a part of the training process. And that's because that would nurture the Ikigai, sense of Ikigai, right? And this is the human brain. And you have the prefrontal cortex and you have the parietal cortex and so on. And if you divide that, there's this place called the midbrain. And that's where your dopamine is released. Maybe you've heard about the dopamine, which is a very important neurotransmitter, and that would motivate you to do something. And that is very flexible. Actually, so you can be motivated by money, obviously, but money is not the only reward that the brain has. Actually, contemporary neuroscience has shown that the brain is a very complex machine, And you can get motivated by many things. You can get motivated by monetary rewards or recognition by your friends, or love, or even by jealousy or revenge and so on. So the way your brain gets motivated every day of your life actually kind of transforms you. It's a terrible business. So if everybody tells you that money is the only thing that counts, then you would become a money monster. I mean, you would always be concerned about your net worth and how much you are making, and you'll be judgmental about people, and that's really terrible. But if you are motivated by your ikigai, you can find your ikigai in many things. I should have brought my other book here, but I didn't. But anyway, in my book, I wrote that you can start your ikigai by taking your dog in the morning for a walk. Oh yeah, that's ikigai. That's what I think. For a walk in the morning, for example. I mean, you can have your ikigai by having a really nice cup of tea or coffee in the morning. So ikigai can be many things, and what? Although in my life, there are some things that I would very much like to do. For example, my life work is to understand how consciousness arises from the brain. And actually, maybe you heard about this concept, qualia. Qualia, the sensory qualities that characterize your consciousness, like the redness of red and coolness of water, the fragrance of the rose and so on. And it is such an enigma, such a mystery that the activities of the billions of neurons in the brain would give rise to your consciousness. And that's the biggest mystery of science, and that is something that I would very much like to understand in my life. But you know what? Probably I won't be able to do it, because clever people have tried that, and it's really difficult. But that would be my biggest ikigai in my life. But on the other hand, I used to study butterflies when I was a kid, and when I go for a run, I actually do go for a run. And in the morning, and when I see some butterflies flying around, that would give me a really deep sense of satisfaction. So there are many different ways your brain can be motivated. So ikigai is actually a very down-to-earth, no-nonsense science of the brain. It is a recognition of the fact that you can be motivated by many things. So in some cultures, like in the US, I always get this sense that the American people are too much obsessed about money. I don't know, there's this sense, there's always this talk of, this sense of that, presumably you guys are all very rich, right? So you don't have to really worry about money, presumably, because that's why you're here. But even when you are affluent, I think it is very important that what makes your day is actually these small things that would give you joys, and you should really have a spectrum of joys. So probably at this time, because I don't want to be talking all that time, that would be terrible. So probably you can start, what is your ikigai?
What's mine?
Yeah.
Yakimo. Did you say yakimo?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you like roasted sweet potato? Yeah.
My ikigai is seeing people succeed and elevate themselves in the way they nurture their organizations. The way they nurture their organizations.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's.
And what gets me up in the morning is know that I get.
Did you guys get this or?
Yeah.
Oh.
They all got that's my small ikigai.
This
Two
is
of those a day.
What? This is my souvenir or what?
Well, you can have it.
Really?
You want you to have
Are you sure?
It's delicious.
Oh.
It's Japanese.
I know. So this is a very small joy, But that is part of your ikigai, right?
It motivates me. When I know I get to eat 2 of those every day, I'm happy.
Okay, great. So how about you, Edward? No, Ethan. Yeah. Ethan. Yeah.
What's your ikigai?
What is your ikigai? Yeah.
My ikigai has changed in the last couple of weeks,
Uh-huh.
I believe. I want to just help my team develop the culture, actually, like, helping everyone to
Right.
a common goal.
What do you do?
I build boats, boat builder.
In New Zealand.
Oh, okay. From down under. Okay, that's great. So okay, thank you. What is your kid, Jason? Yeah.
Jesse.
Jason. Yeah.
So I would say my ikigai is like the moment that I get to see the smile on like a single mother's face when I get to help volunteer fix her vehicle that she can't provide.
That's
or something
great.
Like that. That's I volunteer my time after work sometimes to help out, and to see that smile, it just like it fills my cup.
That's really great because the human brain is made in this way that altruistic behavior, something that you do for other people, would actually activate your reward system. That is established by many experiments. So, and actually, in order to do that, that doesn't come, naturally. I mean, of course, it's in intuition, but you need to cultivate your brain in such a way that when you do something for other people, you do get that reward in it. And some people actually haven't, figured it out. I mean, some people just assume that they need to do something for themselves to get the brain reward, but that is not the case. So I think, Jesse, you are doing really great, and thank you.
Is at a higher level? When you're doing something for someone else, is a higher level than doing something for yourself in terms of how the brain responds? Or
that is a really interesting question because, in the brain, there are certain circuits like the orbitofrontal cortex, which is involved in context setting. So, of course, when you eat something good or drink something, that would motivate your brain, reward system naturally, even if you are a baby. But in order to perceive doing something for other people as something that would be pleasurable for you as well, you do need to configure the brain in such a way that, appropriate context setting, machinery would be in place. So in that sense, yes, it is higher level. It's something that you need to learn from your experience.
let me just ask you a question real quick. So I learned when I was young that when I did things selfishly for myself to satisfy my own pleasures or whatever it was, I got a certain level of satisfaction. Generally, it was very fleeting. It didn't last very long.
Right.
But when I did something to help somebody else, I realized I felt much more satisfied and it was long term. So I switched my entire focus from serving myself to serving others.
Oh, that's great. And it's something called the metacognition. And metacognition is when you observe yourself as if you're seeing from the outside.
Okay.
So your realization that when you are doing something for other people, that would give you a better quality pleasure. I think that was a really beautiful piece of metacognition in your brain. And that is facilitated by the prefrontal area. By the way, I know you are readers, right? I mean, all of you. And in order to be a good reader, you really need to have a coordinated activity in your prefrontal cortex. I mean, many researchers have shown that good readers are so integrated in the prefrontal area that other people would kind of actually delegate. This is interesting, this is funny. When somebody sees a charismatic person, their prefrontal cortex would get low. I mean, they're deactivated because these people, these followers, would delegate the prefrontal function to the leader, the charismatic person. So presumably your prefrontal cortex, well, I can see your prefrontal cortex really greatly organized and metacognition is actually having this ability to observe yourself from the outside is actually a really great way to nurture your prefrontal cortex. So, yeah. Anyway, so how should we go? Maybe we should ask some other. So, Duncan, yeah. What is your ikigai?
My family.
Your what?
Working for my family.
Oh, okay. So presumably you'll be buying something for your family on this trip?
I have already, yeah.
Oh, you have? Okay, what did you buy?
A teacup and a little tea bag holder and candies. And,
Wow. Do you have kids?
one's on the way.
Oh, congratulations. And when are you expecting?
Well, actually, I just found out right before this trip, so.
Oh, really? Wow, congratulations. Wow. So you don't yet know if it's a boy or a girl?
I don't know yet, no.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, so obviously family is really big in this country. Maybe are you going to other parts of Japan this time? Nagoya, and you'll be going
Down
to...
by Issei as well.
Oh, really?
Okay, so, Ken, just so you know, we're going to Issei and we found, I can't say it because it'll be a surprise. I'll have to tell you offline. We're going somewhere so spectacular you would go crazy, but I can't tell them because it's a surprise. I have to tell you.
Why is it?
Because we want to blow them away with what we're going to show them. Okay, I'll tell you later.
So,
It's somewhere in Issei, so it's got to be amazing, right?
yeah, that's the numero uno destination. Yeah, this is kind of a distraction, but the Issei Shrine is arguably the best. Do you?
We haven't taken them there. It's just so far away. It's a little difficult. We're getting almost there, but not all the way.
Oh, okay. Have you been to the Meiji Shrine? Not yet. But you will be. Not yet.
Not
I don't
on this
know.
trip, no. Difficult.
Oh, okay.
You know, we're working at it. We're trying to improve all the time, Ken.
Okay.
We're listening to everything you say, but we didn't figure it out yet in the schedule.
Yeah. Probably. This is. I think this is something that probably would give you a deep understanding of the Japanese culture. And if you go to Issei, there's a shrine, Shinto shrine, and that's where the G7 leaders went when Prime Minister Abe took them there. And incredibly, the main building has been rebuilt every 20 years for the last 1,300 years. Exact copies. Do you know? Okay, so here's a question. Here's a quiz. Why do you think the Issei Grand Shrine buildings, the Shinto buildings, have been rebuilt every 20 years? Do you have any ideas why because you can just keep it there, right? Why rebuild the whole thing every 20 years?
Struggling with good building techniques.
Yeah.
Carry on the art.
Yeah, that's right. So 20 years would be one generation, right?
Yeah.
So if you rebuild the building every 20 years, you can, keep the technology alive through the generation. That's one reason. And so just imagine, what would you have to do in order to rebuild the Shinto shrine every 20 years? Any preparations? Can you guess?
Like train in the dojo kind of thing?
Yeah. But in terms of, you should probably know.
Cut down trees.
Yeah, trees.
You gotta cut down trees. You gotta make a big plan. You've got to, as you said, you've got to train all the new craftsmen the skill.
Yeah.
To be able to rebuild it.
But in addition to that,
I was terrible in school and I always
sorry,
did bad on tests.
sorry.
This mental the old one, the piece castle, understand all the different pieces.
Yeah, that's part of it. But it has something to do with sustainability.
Recycle. Are you recycling though?
Yeah, that's really an important part. If you're not going to the Issei Shrine right this time, but the main building is when they deconstruct the main building, the logs are used. They kind of how do you say that?
Scrape, sand.
Scrape the surface,
Yeah.
and then these logs would be reused for less, smaller shrines, and they would constitute the shrine building there. And then when they deconstruct the smaller shrines, that would then be reused again to reconstruct even smaller shrines and so on. So that's one part of it, but there's something really important other than that. Can you guess? And actually that's, I think, in this book or in the book of IKIGAI, I don't know.
IKIGAI, we talked about the Issei Shrine.
Yeah,
Right.
in order to rebuild the shrine, you need to have a really big log, huge tree. So what do you do? Plant, yeah. Actually, they plant the trees so that people hundreds of years later
Yeah.
can use that. So they have a special reserved forest where they have been planting the tree so that
10 generations.
yeah, 10 generations maybe, because it takes at least 100 or 200 years for the trees to grow to an appropriate size. So
I didn't know that. So the actual trees you're cutting down were planted by people deliberately 200 years prior so they could...
yeah, that's right. So
okay.
have you done something that for
Far-reaching?
for your offspring from 200 years from now?
Are you thinking about 200 years from now? And this, again, is the secret of Japan. They're thinking that long term.
Yeah.
We're worried about today and tomorrow and maybe next week, and they're thinking hundreds of years down the road.
So this is why if I can think of a great quiz, it would be wonderful. What else should we? Yeah, I love this quiz part. But the problem is I haven't thought of any beforehand. So, okay. So, what do you think is what kind of restaurant are you going this evening?
We don't know. We're just thinking about like what you're talking about right now. We're not thinking 300 years out.
Oh. Do you? Oh, it's a barbecue tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah. Not
So
today.
maybe sushi? I don't know. Oh, so this is actually in the book of Ikigai. What do you think is the sushi obviously is a luxury food. If you go to New York and go to a good sushi restaurant, maybe you need to pay $200 or so. I don't know. What do you think is the origin of sushi? Did you know what is actually okay? What is sushi in its original form? It's a
Fermented fish.
it's a adjective food.
It's a what food?
I need a whiteboard or something. You don't have a whiteboard, right?
A what?
Whiteboard. No, I'm fine. It's actually a fast food. Did you know like the McDonald's? Because in
For poor people, right?
not necessarily poor people, but something on the street, like the
Street food.
yeah. It used to be a really a simple matter. In the samurai era, in Tokyo, the sushi stores were everywhere, and they would just cut the fish and put some wasabi and just put it there. So when you think about it, it's the most simple. It's a Zen food, right? Of course now it's a luxury food, but used to be it makes you hungry. When talking about
The
food.
common person would eat it.
Oh.
The common person would eat sushi. It wasn't a luxury food when it started.
Yeah. So that's one aspect of Japan. I think luxury market meets really simple. If you go to, are you guys going to a kaiseki place this time? No. Oh, okay. So this is great. Kaiseki is arguably the best meal you can get in the world. Arguably better than French, Italian, because kaiseki is at the top of Japanese cuisine. So this is the question. Paul, maybe you know, and Mommy, you are supposed to know. What is the purpose of kaiseki? I mean, it's okay. I give an idea. Maybe there's some illustrations here. I don't know. It's really wonderful food, and you can.
You haven't told me about this. You know what it is?
Yeah, not really this one, but this is a bento, right? I mean, so it's a bit of many things, and typically a kaiseki meal would consist of 20 to 30 different items. Like if you go to the American restaurant, you would get a steak and chips, and that's all you get. But a kaiseki food is a bit of fish and vegetables and nice sweetie, and it can be really expensive, like $200-300. But ultimately, the whole food is a preparation for what? The whole food is actually designed so that you can taste something better at the end. What do you think that is? The whole luxurious food, all these items, serve the purpose of preparing you to have a cup of tea, green tea. So
I got an answer right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, congratulations.
Wow.
Have you?
From Ken Mogi too. That must be like timed to
No.
100 points.
No. Have you tasted kaiseki?
You have, also.
You have. Do you remember?
Not really, right?
Not really.
But
Actually,
actually,
62 card. I don't
but
remember.
actually, you would have to go to Kyoto to
Okay.
have a really nice kaiseki. But it comes from the tradition of tea ceremony. And when you go to one of the tea masters, you would be served with all these delicious food and sake, a lot of sake, and a really nice time. But at the end, this is very important. The most important part of it is to have the green tea in the bowl. And maybe you've seen it. I mean, there's such a really complicated formalities associated with it. So when you talk about tea ceremony, people usually think of the green tea only. But traditionally, there is this whole series of wonderful food before the green tea, and at the end, voila, you have the green tea. And it's really great. I mean, you should really do that. I mean, the green tea, bowl of green tea, after all these wonderful food, tastes so heavenly, and that's
Sounds interesting.
that's Japanese culture for you. I mean,
We'll put mommy on it. We'll make it happen.
oh, on this trip, on this trip, mommy, that'll be a high order, right? I mean, so what I'm saying is that I think at the heart of Japan, there is this idea that simplicity is very important. If you remember Steve Jobs, I mean, he learned a lot from the Japanese Buddhist Zen tradition. So that I have an iPhone, and this is simplicity. I mean,
How many people knew Jobs was influenced by Japan? Anybody know that?
Oh,
Interesting. No, yeah, I big time.
yeah, big time. I mean, big time.
Big
Big time. Really?
Along with a lot of other very famous people, Monet, not Rembrandt, Monet, Van Gogh. Yeah, a lot of very
So,
prominent people.
for me, all the Apple products seem somewhat Japanese in spirit. I mean, because of this simplicity. I mean, this spirit that you reduce the complexity into a really well thought form of functionality. So in that sense, this is Zen. This is very Zen. And, of course, the world is becoming really complex nowadays. But after all, if you go back to the human brain, if you can complex your experience into one concept in the brain, that will be great. That you can carry around. Of course, I know the world is unpredictable, but if you have this really compressed sense of life, what life involves, that would give you a really great lead in this world, complex world. And I think that's what Paul-san is trying
So
to.
in other words, if you have a very simple and clear path, it's very helpful in how you will enjoy life.
Yeah. By the way, I remember you gave me this homework of the neuroscience of
Yes,
Kaizen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is very interesting. In that article, maybe you read that article.
I didn't give it to them.
Oh, okay. So in that article, the author was discussing the creativity of the human brain, and he was just saying that this is very much true. All of you, every one of you, is actually very creative. But in order to induce the creativity, you need to try many things. You need to try and fail. And interestingly, this is the attitude adopted by Google's Google X. This laboratory where they study things like Google Glass and self-driving cars and so on. I have been attending the TED conference for maybe 10 years or so. And, at one of the conferences, the head of the Google X lab came and he said that, okay, so here's another quiz. Suppose Alex, you are the leader of the Google Glass team at Google X, this Google Glass team. And suppose your project is discontinued. I mean, they said you should stop the project. What kind of treatment do you think you would get from Google when your project is discontinued?
No idea.
Any ideas? Yeah, go ahead.
Show you the door.
Sorry?
Show you the door.
Oh, show you the.
Kick you out.
No. Actually, it's quite. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they would give you another opportunity
Uh huh.
to do something else.
Yeah. Actually, the answer is even more surprising than that.
Okay.
And the answer is you get a promotion for your project being discontinued, scrapped.
Not that.
The reason why the head of the Google X said that, okay, you try to do something, right? For example, you try to do something like a Google Glass,
Right.
and then you learned, given the present technology, you cannot do it really in a good way. For example, people talk a lot about metaverse, right? Facebook has changed its name to Meta. But do you remember the Second Life attempt? Some years ago, right? Second Life was there, but they couldn't really bring it off because at the time, the technology was not mature. We didn't have fast chips and we didn't have fast internet connections. So at the time, Second Life, this idea of building a virtual world wasn't really practical. But now, because we have faster chips and faster internet connections, maybe this time we can do it. So given a certain technological environment, there are certain things that you can do, and there are certain things that you cannot do. Remember that Apple's Newton handheld device?
Yeah.
You used to use it?
No.
Okay, so they had this tablet called Newton. I used to use it. But at the time, it was not really feasible. So they discontinued it. So learning something fully and deciding that it cannot be done at this time is a really valuable piece of information. And when technology changes, when social environment changes, maybe you can do it better next time. So that's, I think, why the Google X has has been promoting people who, has hated the discontinued project. And the brain actually learns something like that. nowadays people talk a lot about pivoting, right? Pivoting meaning, this basketball movement and changing directions and so on. Japan is actually a great country for pivoting, right? I mean, this is really funny. I mean, you went to the MacArthur room, right? I mean, okay. April 1945. Probably most of the people in Japan were thinking that Americans were like devils and, maybe some of them are, but I'm just joking, sorry. But the moment Douglas MacArthur set feet on Japan, there was a total change of attitude. I mean, Japanese people are really great at pivoting. I mean, we do not, we are not like, I'm not naming here. I mean, we are not obsessed with ideologies. I mean, we are really practical. So we are always pivoting, and actually, but that's generally speaking what the human brain is very, very good at. Pivoting, making changes, and that is actually Kaizen, because Kaizen is about trying many, many things, right? And when you learn that some route are not so great, then you discontinue that. I mean, you
Pivot.
yeah, just discard it and go to other places. I mean, so, I hope you would probably be flexible as this in your life. I mean, some people are too obsessed with one idea, and no matter what, they keep doing that. But pivoting is a really great function of the human brain. It comes from the circuit called the caudate nucleus in the middle of the brain. It's called caudate nucleus, and caudate nucleus is involved in switching from one mode to the other, and so that's actually very much of the Japanese culture. Because, for example, can you believe that there were samurai walking around here? I mean, just some years ago, not some years ago, I mean, in the Edo era.
150 years ago.
Yeah, but they completely shifted to modernization when, they realized that it was a goal to go, right? I mean, so Japan is really great at pivoting, making changes. And that, I think, is behind Kaizen. I think, Kaizen is about constantly updating your life by learning to, be flexible. So, Paul, have you been pivoting?
Not the way you want.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Are you well, it's still before 6 p.m., so I don't know what you're doing. But anyway.
Well, I'm in a constant state of learning when I'm in Japan, Ken. Today I learned so much I couldn't.
Yeah, you guys are about 5 minutes. By the way, please, Mr. Minami, please come here. By the way, did you show the trick already?
Oh yeah. We know
So, but did you expect? So, Mommy, this time did they get the story correctly?
Yes, we made sure.
Including the, oh, okay. So please.
回りますか。
はい、お願いします。
いきます。
Oh.
Ken, now do it. You want to see me do it?
Yeah, well, I need metaphors to do that. So, he's a really great friend of mine, and he. Oh, by the way, you actually wrote a book, right? I mean, do you have?
Yeah, you gave it to us. Yeah,
Oh.
together.
Wow.
So Ken, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Mamami-san, why are you such good friends with him? What is it that intrigues you most about him?
Oh, he's a really great business person. I mean, he started from this idea of giving gymnastics lessons at family homes. I mean, he was thinking of visiting family homes,
Right.
but soon he learned that it was not feasible. So he actually literally pivoted to having this kind of school to give lessons to kids. So before that, as you remember, he was injured and he couldn't make it to the Athens Olympics. So he's a great guy in pivoting, right? I mean, so you're always
Both physically and mentally.
physically and mentally.
Right.
So in that sense, I really respect him, and
See.
yeah, and so are you. I mean, because I know you have been going through many different difficult situations, including the COVID-19 and so on. But yet, you guys, you are successfully organizing this,
Mommy
tour.
organized it.
Mommy,
I'm
with
just
the
a
help,
figurehead.
with a little help from, not with a great help from mommy. So, yeah. Anyway, so do you guys have any questions? Because I think time is unfortunately running out, and you guys need to head for your restaurant. Yeah, go ahead.
You came up with an idea of I was trying to get the end of saying when something wrong happens
Uh-huh.
and one has to be told that the project is going to be discontinued.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Then what happens from there? You say he's getting a promotion.
right.
Yeah.
So according to the brain, I just want to understand, when you tell someone the bad news, saying, you know what, the product as a salesperson, you're not doing well, or you're not productive, what happens to the brain?
Oh, this is quite interesting. So, actually, Google X is not rewarding people for failures. I mean, they succeeded in identifying the limits of technology at a certain point, right? So it's not like a lazy person would get a promotion when he or she is given the pink slip or whatever. It's that at Google they do the best to understand something. For example, people talk a lot about Web3 nowadays and cryptocurrencies and so on. But it's a still open question whether these would be good. And in order to understand whether this technology can be used, you need to really, rigorously pursue the goal to the end. So that is what Google is rewarding the people for. I mean, it's not something that.
It's not for failure, it's for finding the limits.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? It's
Yeah,
not for failure.
it's
for
like
finding the
clarifying,
finding the limits.
finding the limits, clarifying.
Clarifying the limits.
Yeah, clarifying the limits, which is a really valuable information.
So for us in our organizations, we're telling everyone to run experiments all the time. Are we asking them to run experiments to find solutions, or possibly to clarify the limits, our current limits, which is a whole new way of thinking about this?
Yeah, because in quantum computing, for example, it's always a really wonderful job to clarify the limits.
Right.
So I think this is really important because people are too obsessed with results and in a materialistic way. Mm-hmm. But we should probably be concerned more about results in the sense of information. If you get a valuable information, whether that information is positive or negative, it is still a positive, valuable information. So that's, I think, the philosophy of Google, Rodney. So.
Any more questions? Very interesting. Clarifying the limits. We've never really talked about that before. It's good.
Yeah, because I felt, this time, because I brought the brain model, it'll be great. I thought it would be great to mix kind of a Japanese-oriented topics with more, global technology-oriented thing, which I am part of because I work at the Sony Computer Science Lab, and I know you guys are technology-oriented for recent at this age. So yeah, anyway.
Ken-san, why Japanese people are good at pivoting?
Good at
Why?
That I think because this country is really complex. I mean, remember March 11th, 2011? We had the earthquake, and we are always going through really great changes overnight, literally overnight.
Tectonic changes.
Yeah, literally overnight. So,
Whether it be the Meiji Restoration,
yeah.
the end of World
So
War II,
we can be,
tsunamis.
even we became the 21st state of the United States overnight.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great. we can,
You would pivot.
we can live with it. I mean, we can do that. I hope we wouldn't be the 21st state of China, but probably we'll try to live with it. Any people from, no, obviously not from China, no. So, that's Japan, actually. That's our country. All these, adaptation to abrupt changes. So,
Adaptations to abrupt changes.
yeah, I think that's that's at the heart of
Adaptation
Japanese
to abrupt
society.
changes.
We don't assume anything permanent. Actually, we're probably going deep here, but the Japanese concept of permanence is quite different from the Western concept, because the Japanese tradition is thought that change is the only permanence in this world. Yeah.
So you missed it. You missed
Yeah,
it.
no.
Say it again, I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Change is the only permanence in this world. That is the Japanese philosophy of life.
Wow.
So,
Change is the only permanence.
yeah.
Boy, Ken, you just handed us two huge ones at the very
Yes.
end.
No.
Two big ones at the end.
Your aperitif for your dinner.
Well, you just,
Yeah.
you really just served up the two biggest ones.
No. Anyway, so I hope this is too short, but I have my email address on my Twitter account. So if you have any questions, you can contact me. I would have liked to learn a lot from you guys, but today I need to give my
Wow.
talk. But anyway, please say hello to anybody.
So Ken, one more time, adapt, how did you say it? Adapt changes to abrupt problems, or how did you say that one more time? Anybody write it down?
Adaptations from abrupt changes.
Adaptation, yeah.
Adaptations.
From abrupt
Okay.
changes.
One example was, as I said, the GHQ. I mean, Douglas MacArthur. I mean, it's something that amazes me always when, even as a Japanese. I mean, but you can do it. I mean, it's in the human brain, the capacity to shift to a different mode. So anyway, I think you guys really need to go
Okay.
for
Fantastic.